So the cast is Mimi, played tonight by
Annie Valeska.
And Lieutenant Larry Rosenstein, played tonight by
Aaron Mermelstein.
And we have Lieutenant George Conway, played tonight by
Brad Kinzel.
And then Mandy Abramowitz, played by
Patience Davis.
Fantastic. And now we'll begin Shakedown by Charlie Jacobson.
Fade in. Modern apartment, West Hollywood, Los Angeles, day. July 16th, 1960, 10 o'clock in the morning. Front room. Couch, coffee table and a book. Easy chair, purse, magazine rack, and wastebasket, desk chair and a telephone. Tea cart stocked with liquor. Full-length mirror. Photo of buxom young woman on the wall. Lola, a black cat, plays with a man's tie on the floor. Doorbell rings. Mimi O'Brien, female, 20, sexy, short V-neck kimono robe, prominent neck bruise, sachets into the room, singing.
Sweet babies come along, tweet, tweet, and doobia, tweet, tweet, and doobia, ba-da, and doot, and dooya.
Mimi glares at Lola. Lola glares back.
Ba-doot, and doot, and dooya.
Mimi takes the tie from Lola and puts it in her pocket. Lola scampers away. Mimi opens the door. Lieutenant Larry Rosenstein, male, loud, 40, and Lieutenant George Conway, male, cool, 30, two LAPD detectives are standing outside. Conway carries a large briefcase.
Good morning, ma'am.
Whatever you're selling.
Wait. Let me show you who I am.
Oh, God.
My partner, Lieutenant George Conway.
I didn't expect.
No one ever does. Are we interrupting something?
She shifts her stance and runs a hand through her hair.
I was just.
Are you Mimi O'Brien?
Yes.
We'd like to ask you a few questions, please.
Completely voluntary.
Mimi eyes Conway's briefcase suspiciously.
Since when?
Since you opened the door. There we are.
Apparently. Come on in. Come in.
The detectives enter the room. She closes the door. The three stand in awkward silence. Conway looks around.
Not too shabby.
You don't look Jewish.
I guess it doesn't show, huh?
Your neck, ma'am?
Hurts.
Better see a doctor.
I did. Sit down. I won't bite.
Couch?
I'd prefer that.
Thanks.
The detectives remove their hats and settle on the couch. Mimi sinks into her easy chair and drops the tie on the magazine rack.
Ma'am, do you mind if we smoke?
Smoke yourself to death.
Mimi plucks a cigarette from a pack of Luckies and holds it unlighted. Conway rises and heads over to Mimi.
Let me give you a light, missus.
I'm still single. I'd rather have you call me Mimi.
Conway steadies her hand and lights hers with his lighter.
Nice hands, Lieutenant.
You can call me George.
Conway lights his and returns to the couch. He lights Rosenstein. Mimi smokes seductively, flashing her legs and tugging at her clothes. They all smoke avidly, filling the apartment with smoke. Conway opens his briefcase.
Are you taping?
Yeah, uh-huh.
He takes out a tape recorder and sets it on the coffee table. She plays with the tie and puts it back on the rack.
Anyone else here?
Not at this time. Why?
No reason. Let's begin.
Machine click as Conway turns the recorder on.
So, ma'am, first let me say how very sorry we are about Detective Stricker. You must be
I must be nothing. I spent 3 nights watching this phone, waiting, and waiting.
The shock, so terrible.
I just want to see him one more time. He made a very special place in my heart. Could someone snag a box of Kleenex for me?
Conway brings it to her.
Yes, that. Thank you.
Conway returns to the couch. She pats her face. blows her nose and drops the tissues in the wastebasket.
I want to express my sympathy and support for the LAPD. Up until now, my relationship has been...
You know very well why we're here. Detective Stricker was murdered.
Conway takes out a pad and a pen.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
People are talking. Black rumors. The knives are out. They'll finish me. They'll say I killed him.
Rumors travel fast.
If you suspect me, then say so.
We're not here to judge.
Ken deserves better. You should be out looking for the killers.
We think he was shot by someone he knew.
Oh, for God's sake, spare me, would you?
We're covering leads, checking informants, suspects, getting your side of the story.
Oh, imagine that.
Mimi goes to the tea cart and fixes a drink. The detectives whisper.
What do you think? Bourbon? Rye?
We don't drink on duty.
She holds out a bottle of scotch and swirls it.
Black label. I keep it for emergencies.
No thanks.
Nothing? What's one drink between friends?
Mimi moves back to her chair and takes a long drink.
We all need help sometimes.
Any animals here?
A cat.
A cat. Mine's a yellow Tom.
Yeah. Lola doesn't like men.
I have a parakeet.
Now that's interesting.
Do you have any weapons here in the apartment?
My Beretta was stolen last month.
What?
The shells are here.
Would you mind if we took some for ballistics?
We don't have a warrant.
Somehow I knew that. There's a box in the top left drawer of the desk. You'll need a key.
Mimi searches her purse.
There's so much shit in here. Had it in my purse. I'm sure I put it in there. I'll find it. I know it's somewhere. Isn't that silly?
The key falls out of her purse onto the floor.
Nervous much?
Only during nervous breakdowns.
Mimi bends down to pick up the key and holds it in the air.
Here. Have it right here. See?
Conway takes the key and removes a box of shells from the desk. He examines one of them.
25 caliber.
25 makes a very neat exit wound.
If it's
That's
so
a factor.
If it's so fascinating, take the whole friggin' box. I don't ever want to see it again. Leave the key on the desk.
Conway returns to the couch with the box and picks up a book from the coffee table.
I have a few brain cells left.
The subjection of women.
A man wouldn't understand.
Mimi sips her drink, maintaining eye contact.
When was the last time you saw Detective Stricker?
10 o'clock Wednesday.
AM, PM.
AM.
Positive?
You're staring. My face, is it?
No, it's beautiful.
I bet.
Mimi takes out her compact and checks her face.
This is my crazy hair day.
She takes out a brush and begins detangling her hair.
10 o'clock is when he pulled away from the curb in his Packard, bound for the precinct.
And 3:05 p.m.?
You know how to hurt people. He's dead because of me. I wasn't there. I wasn't there when he needed me.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear here. Where were you between 2 and 4 on Wednesday?
Sitting where you are with Mandy.
Mandy who?
Mandy Abramovitz.
W or V?
W. 1227 North Citrus.
We'll check this address. Phone?
Hollywood 34615.
Is that her there on the wall?
Uh-huh. She's a real doll. All the guys look at her. I try really hard to be like her, but my low cuts don't look the same.
We didn't mean to.
Her boobs don't need any help. I buy Kleenex to prop mine up.
Mimi pulls her robe open a notch.
Take her from the photo on the wall, George.
So, what's the problem?
We have somebody fitting your description on Rampart Street, 3:05 p.m. Wednesday, vicinity of Little Mother's.
Not my ass.
Were you ever there?
No, I was here.
But did you leave before 3:05?
Mandy would know.
3:05, Mandy would know.
So, what pushed Detective Stricker into your arms?
What's done is done.
I can't imagine how you feel.
How would you feel if cops barged in and crawled all over you?
Do you need a minute?
Thank you, George. Not like some other person I know.
Mimi relaxes and lights up again. Conway puts down his pad. Rosenstein walks to the window, bored.
Why not start at the beginning?
Okay, Santa Anita. He busted me and Mandy after we propositioned him. We were broke, young, and drunk.
Did he collar you?
No, he said, you're bored and looking for trouble. Your mother's sure didn't teach you much.
Uh-huh.
I got chills. Not a speck on his shoes and a handsome face except for a scar over his eye. I wanted to kiss it so bad.
Mimi gets up and walks over to the coffee table in front of Conway. She crushes her cigarette in the ashtray and goes over to the mirror. Rosenstein watches from the window.
I looked him in the eye.
She poses in front of the mirror, draws her hair out, twists it into a knot behind her head, and rocks her hips. The detectives take in every inch.
Should I cut my hair? I'm doing it different now.
Well, no.
No, what?
No.
Mimi and Rosenstein reseat. Mimi exhales through her nose, flashing her legs, posing like Marlene Dietrich.
You deal?
You sure?
I'm fascinated.
He said, I've got a bundle. I could use a girl like you, no strings. I thought this can't be real.
Where'd he get the dough?
I wasn't taking notes.
Loans from friends, George.
I had to get a record in the chicken shack before I could see Cash and team up with him.
Main attraction?
I ask myself that all the time. Be something, get off the street, whirl among the stars. I don't think I'll ever figure out what I want to do before I'm an old bag.
I was thinking more of his vigilante streak.
He wasn't Detective Goody.
A cop turned up dead.
The cop was dirty.
He was a good officer. Is Mandy around, perchance?
Mandy's at her place of worship, where you should be.
We'll check into her later. You were over the age of consent.
Uh-huh, Mandy for sure.
Did he take advantage of you?
What would you call ice cream, a deck of Luckies, and a ride in his brand new car?
The Packard that you mentioned earlier.
Jesus, not the one he died in.
How did you know he died in his car?
Maury called. I couldn't believe what I heard. I fell on the floor screaming at the top of my lungs.
What if I tell you that Maury had Wednesday off?
Mimi plays with an earring. It drops into her cleavage.
I don't know what you're telling me. I didn't hear it with my own ears. Am I hard of hearing?
The facts, if you don't mind.
Maybe it wasn't Maury. Maybe somebody who sounds like Maury. It sounded like Maury.
Mimi fishes it out, puts it back on, freshens her lips.
I knew it was Ken's show. I didn't mind doing time in El Retiro, but I wondered if Mandy would wait for me.
You and her...
We share everything. What's between you two?
We work together. Always have. He's the best.
I'm asking the questions here, all right? Detroit. What about Detroit? The Zorillas, for instance.
When I got out, I was ready to be a woman, do things. The Zorillas owed him a favor.
Mimi walks over to the desk, picks up the key, and unlocks a drawer. She takes a string of pearls out of a cloth bag.
The Zorillas were some very nice people who happened to run a skim at the Detroit track. You don't want to owe them money, though.
Ever been to Corona? There's no waiting list, and some very nice people happen to be in there.
That bothers Mimi, and she fidgets with the pearls.
I'm beginning to not like you. George, would you?
She closes her eyes while he gets up and fastens them.
I remember the closeness when he put him around my neck.
That's much prettier.
Mimi touches Conway playfully as he returns to the couch.
He said when a guy meets a gal he likes, does he have to wait a certain time before he tells her? That depends, I said.
Mimi moves back to her chair and recovers her composure.
I hated to leave LA, but I got on the bus.
Did he kick the tires first?
He wasn't the type.
Who was your Detroit contact?
Toledo Sue. She taught me. She really opened my mind. I have her number in my purse. One sec.
Hold on. Where are we going here?
I'm going for a little day brightener. Want one? Scotch? Bourbon?
No, thanks. Knock yourself out.
Mimi finishes her first drink en route to the tea cart to mix a double. The detectives get up to stretch.
Don't become a drinker, George. Know anything about horses?
They run round and round and end up where they started?
I'll drink to that.
Mimi takes a gulp. Conway studies Mandy's photo.
She has the eyes of a Jewess.
Mainly because she is one.
Jewish, George, Jewish.
The detectives reseat and Mimi plops down between them.
You like that Jewish look, huh? Maybe I should act Jewish and say a brucka for you.
The sauce has gotten to her. Rosenstein smiles to himself.
During that month in Detroit, I learned everything.
Like how to use a gun?
Telephone rings. Mimi answers. The detectives whisper.
Hello?
Mimi,
Hmm.
it's Mandy. Are you there?
I don't know if I'm in love with you today.
You're drinking, aren't you?
Only a couple.
I'm coming over.
I want to throw up. Detectives are here. Shitting.
What shitting detectives?
Never mind. Have you done your spring cleaning?
Give me a half hour.
My head is spinning. When did we leave here on Wednesday?
4 o'clock. I thought we agreed it was 4 o'clock. We walked up to the Paramount and saw the apartment where Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. Remember?
Mimi hands the receiver to Rosenstein.
We left at 4 p.m. to walk up to the Paramount. Here, ask her.
I'm not talking to her now.
She's crazy anyway.
Michiganer.
Mimi hangs up the phone and folds into the easy chair.
You remember what you saw?
Jack. Shirley and Jack. So on and so forth.
The apartment?
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's what it was.
Conway hands a folder to Rosenstein. He opens it.
Does Creative Services ring a bell?
Those jerks? Don't make me puke.
Inspector 1, Deputy 1, Detective 1, Associate 1, Unidentified 1.
Why should I know all this stuff?
Because you are Prostitute 1.
Mimi takes a fresh cigarette and tosses her hair.
I ran into trouble on a private plane to Vegas. We were in the air. I was drinking, sitting on laps, in a bikini. Detective 1 began to hover. Then the cuffs.
Now we're getting somewhere.
I normally have a good eye, but I was too drunk to see it coming.
Good to the last drop.
Mimi opens her legs just enough.
Try it. You might like it.
The detectives look at each other with chagrin.
I couldn't jump. They were on the side of me, behind me, all over me. I prayed the whole time.
The hotel?
Champagne, catered food, naked girls running around until I couldn't see straight.
You know, we could book you for screwing the department.
Yeah, and I got enough on the LAPD to sink a battleship.
For example,
That nasty business at 1245 North Orange on Good Friday. Am I right?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that with anyone.
Two can play that game.
Mimi shows a cold shoulder to the detectives in her chair and takes out a nail file.
Nothing accidentally left out? No more details to add?
You know, when I got back from Detroit, he gave me jobs where he couldn't go. I did my part. Once I almost took a bullet.
When was that?
That, the Great Fur Heist, that's when he put his mark on me. What was I gonna do, huh? If you ever saw him smile or laugh, it was my most favorite thing.
Did you fight?
We were a great act. He pushed and slapped me, I screamed. He punched me and I hit the wall.
When was that?
Tuesday.
Last Tuesday?
Uh-huh. When I came to and pulled myself up, he said, "You're fine." I was afraid after that.
But you lost control. You shot him. You killed him, didn't you?
For fuck's sake! He had enemies. I had nothing to do with it. You're some detectives. You came here to frame me, didn't you?
Why are you yelling? We're right here.
What more do you want?
Open the door on Ken.
He was moody. He had a dark side and a sunny side. I never knew what side would come up. Something happened in Korea.
A vet with troubles.
Shell shock. You knew he had trouble from the beginning.
Excuse me. Your opinion means nothing. He felt pain, headaches. He suffered. He made my heart full.
We're almost out of tape, Rosie.
We have everything we need.
Machine click as Conway turns off the tape recorder. All three rise and snuff out their cigarettes.
We suspect you had knowledge of or complicity in the death of Detective Strickler.
Rosenstein produces a cigarette case.
You're not clean, Sugar Plum. You made a mistake.
Where did you get that?
In the alley by the Packard.
Lana Turner gave it to me.
Stumpanato got what he deserved.
You wouldn't do a thing like that.
It's my duty to inform you.
You're not gonna do this to me. I'm no Jezebel. I loved him as much as I could. His mother said so.
Siren in the distance.
There's one more thing.
Now what?
The bathroom.
Well, follow me.
Mimi walks slowly into the hall, glancing back over her shoulder. The detectives follow the yellow brick road. In the hall, machine click as Mimi flicks on the bedroom light. Rosenstein heads into the bathroom. Mimi pushes up on Conway with tears and crosses herself.
Father in heaven, forgive me for what I've done. I'm going to hell, aren't I?
You're not going in, if that's what you mean.
You're not gonna take me away?
No conclusions can be drawn at this time.
Fucking hallelujah!
Conway lights up and hands her a photo.
Be in the Beverly Hills lobby at 8:30. We'll cover you with a tale.
Mimi hands the photo back to Conway.
You were lying all along? This was a setup?
You can bring Mandy.
I can't do this anymore.
50 each, just for showing up.
Get out of here. Who ordered this? The chief?
No answer. She takes a cigarette from the case. He steadies her hand and lights it. She blows a ring.
That's a yes, George.
Lola appears.
Meow.
The end.
Right. First of all, thank you, actors. Fantastic job.
That was really good. Oh my God, that was so good.
Hey, Charlie, what is there anything specific that you would like feedback on?
Probably the ending, where are we going with this? And that's a difficult, the shakedown is on both ends. She's got something on them. They have something on her, but the cops win out in the end, And so now
Okay.
they have they have an undercover person. They have, somebody they can use out there. But, and as far as who killed, who do you think killed the detective? Was it Mandy or both of them together, or was it, who, or Mimi or someone else? I don't know. I just kind of left it out there. Does that
And
bother?
is this the first scene of the play, or is this later on in the play?
Well, this was supposed to be something self-contained, but
Okay,
all right. I do want to add something to it.
All right, gotcha. All right, so field those questions, and if you will, just turn your microphone back on in your video if you wish to. I cannot see everybody's face, so when these Zoom meetings, it's best to just go ahead and speak up. Who wants to answer Charlie's question there?
I'll give it a try here. I really didn't know exactly where it was going. It had after a while, I figured out it was a very neo-film noir type feel to it. I caught a little bit of some of the references. It was also getting a little bit confusing because I was trying to figure out, all right, what was the point? What's going on? I don't know. It just doesn't seem a whole lot clear to me as to exactly what this was about. And yeah, you might need a little bit more of a clearer ending. Oh, by the way, it's a pack of lucky, not a deck.
I made that note too, Brad.
Okay. And I don't believe there were zip codes in 1960.
60.
Right. Other comments?
I also questioned Packard, but I looked it up, and Packard actually stopped manufacturing in like 1958 or 56, so it would have been around in 1960. I just don't remember him. I hate to say this. This is not the first time I've heard or read this. I still don't know what happened at the end.
Yeah.
Did they want her to come as a hooker to the Beverly Hills Hotel?
Yeah, that's what
I mean, there were just a lot of references in it, I'm afraid, that I didn't understand. And I tried to, and I just didn't. So, there's a certain amount of density on my part and stupidity, but there were references I just didn't get.
There were some things in there. It sounded like it was referencing LA Confidential with Stompanato and Lola Turner.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was interesting, but where is this going? Oh, and also a cat on stage live.
It's a film. It's a movie, Brad.
The movie?
It's a film.
Oh, is this supposed to be a film?
It's a short.
Oh, okay.
But I have to tell you, the way those women were portrayed, I think I might have left for the popcorn stand. Unless this was obviously set in the 40s, which it wasn't. I have no interest in watching a non-40s movie in 2021. I mean, I did not like the portrayals of the women, and so the men might just love the whole believe me because I'm flashing at you business, but I have no patience for that anymore. Sorry.
I wanted to say that I think the diction and everything was really nice, but I got lost in my time frame once because of a phrase. I think it was nervous much or something like that, which is so contemporary compared to the other language. So it made me stop listening to the dialogue for a minute while I straightened out my head about the time period.
I have a question, and please straighten me out if I've got this wrong, but I was wondering why they wanted to keep the bullets, because until bullet's been fired, it's not going to be able to match it to another bullet that's been fired.
I was wondering about that myself, because ballistics, it's not the bullet you're matching, it's the gun.
It's the rifling
Right,
from
the
the
rifles
gun.
are unique. Bullets aren't.
I think I'm scared that both of you know that.
I just watched a
Many
lot
of
of
us know
movies.
that.
I
I
just,
wanted,
yes,
yeah,
I.
too. All right.
Yeah,
great.
just to, I don't want to just pile on here, but I think it was the fact that it's supposed to be a film, which, I thought we did plays, but it was, that answers some of my questions, like the smoking and the cat and all this type of thing, that's very hard to do these days on stage. I agree with Mary's view about, I think, the portrayal of the women in a modern film. I don't know if I've excused it even in the 40s. It was, but from a 40s film. But it was, yeah, I didn't like that. And I did find it rather confusing. I don't know really what happened during the whole thing. I'm not sure what happened and what the ending was. So, so I think definitely, to get to the author's point, some idea of what's going on and what happens is going to be good. But I mean, I think that's sort of perhaps what the author has to work out is where he's trying to take that story. I go.
I have a question, which is if this is a standalone piece, it wasn't clear why the detective and Mandy were identified as Jewish. If that didn't appear to have anything to do with the plot. I mean, it might have if you had a larger piece and that played into it, but it didn't seem to have anything to do with what was going on.
Yeah. So if I don't hear any other particular comments on the plot, I'll say, I'll switch to the characters for a moment of the dialogue. I think the dialogue was pretty snappy. It moved along nicely. The characters were certainly different. I kind of agree with, I don't know why, yeah, perhaps it doesn't matter any ethnicity to the characters. I did think that Lieutenant Conway's character was a little flat compared to the other ones. It seemed to me he should be more flustered in the face of the kind of seductiveness of Mimi. All right, if there's no other comments, perhaps we should head on to the next play. Going, gone.
Just one quick thing. I found the ending a little unclear, and like, why was the other detective going into the bathroom? Like, was that just to get him off stage, or was there an actual purpose? That was kind of unclear. That's all I got.
Yeah, good point. Agreed. All right. Robert will be played by
Brad Kinzel
again, and the character of Kate will be played by
Annie Valeska.
Thank you. And here is the blind hymn by Bryn McLaughlin. Excuse me.
Black, the sound of water running.
Hey, Robbie? Robert?
Water stops.
What was that?
Hey, could you get me a glass of water? Pretty please.
I can do that.
Water on again. Lights up on room. The bed is center stage, door stage right, table and chairs up stage right with cheap wine and bags and clothes strewn about, bathroom stage left. The room is arranged so that we may view into the bathroom relatively well when the door, which faces us and opens inward away from the audience, is ajar. Kate lounges on the bed wearing cotton underwear and a slightly decadent bra, short hair disheveled. It is night. There is cool moonlight pouring in the windows stage right, and the bathroom door is cracked, casting a warm yellow light into the room. Robert is in the restroom brushing his teeth. He fills a glass. Water off. Kate is thoroughly enjoying herself, lounging in the twisted covers, running her hands over the pillows and smiling. There is a glow about her. She sings gaily as Robert enters to deliver her water, toothbrush hanging out of his mouth. He is unshaven and wears a robe over boxer briefs, perhaps one sock. He has an air of being endlessly exhausted with the world. Kate may not be a great singer, but her enthusiasm is charming.
Fish gotta swim, birds gotta fly. I've gotta love one man till I die.
Here.
Can't help loving that man of mine.
You are a lightweight.
I'm not even buzzed, you goose. Play with me.
No.
She knows.
We're done playing tonight.
But I'm having so much fun.
You are a child.
You love that about me.
I don't know what to do with you.
I know what you could.
Grabbing her t-shirt from the floor.
No. Arms up.
Nope.
Kate.
She bats at the end of his toothbrush in place of a response.
Hey now, come on. You need sleep.
I get sleep.
I need sleep. I have an early class tomorrow. Today. I can't be yawning my way through Dr. Faustus, can I? Arms up.
I don't know why you can't just sleep here.
You know that I'm a light sleeper.
How would I know that? You've never actually stayed over. Not once.
I'm telling you now.
We hardly had any time together. I didn't get out of rehearsal till 10.
Well, Mercutio should know his lines by next week, so we'll have more time then.
Next week?
Robert looks at her, a trace of sympathy in his tired eyes.
Tomorrow is just a tough day for me. Midterms, I need to get ahead on grading. I put off mapping out that new Shakespeare unit for way too long.
Kate looks down.
I would make you coffee in the morning.
How about I see you on Friday?
Twice in 1 week?
Twice in 1 week.
I would love that.
Excellent. Arms up.
She does so childishly, enjoying the attention. She might continue humming. He carefully slides the shirt on, taking care to adjust it so the fit is correct. This ritual is familiar to them both, and he performs the actions tenderly, with a very serious look on his face, as if he were trying to solve a complex puzzle.
I love this part.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. It's my favorite.
Your favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Not any of that other stuff, then? You don't like any of that?
Oh, no, that too.
Do you really, though?
I do.
She does. Just checking.
Yeah, it's just
Water on.
no one else ever does all.
What's that? Water's on.
Oh, nothing.
You sure?
Positive.
Robert finishes his teeth brushing, washing his face, while Kate looks off in his direction. She appears lost in thought.
Robert? Robbie? Can you hear me, Robert?
She gets up slowly, walks toward the bathroom, puts her hand on the wall that separates them, humming the same song to herself. She presses her cheek against the wall as if slow dancing with it. She speaks dreamily with a kind of gentle sadness under the safety of the water sound.
I think I love you.
Robert stops.
I wonder sometimes when the water's running, if you really can't hear me, what I say to you. I wonder if it's your way of escaping. But that's okay, I think, if you need it. Sometimes I need it too. A safe haven. The only time I think either of us are truly honest with one another, and there's a wall between us.
She turns, leans her back against the wall, rests her head back. Robert goes to turn off the water but thinks better of it. He listens.
I love you, Robert. Oh, how I do. And I want you to know how lonely it is to love someone from the other side of a door. I'm so sorry you're hurting, but I wish you'd let me in.
Water drips from his hair and face, but he steps closer to the door. It's as if he senses her closeness through the wall. He too reaches out to the door, wanting badly to caress it, but something is holding him back. They have no idea how close they are. Their hands are perfectly aligned.
Let me in, Robert.
Robert's hand clenches, pulls back. He shakes his head. He coughs, turns off the water, makes noise. Kate straightens up, prepares to smile, and gets back to bed.
Do you need any more water?
You know me too well.
She quickly finishes the original glass.
Just a little, yes. Always so thirsty after, well,
Sex, Robert. I'm always thirsty after sex.
yes.
You can say it, you know. Hydration is an important issue. Did you know that most people are chronically dehydrated? They just don't realize it? So this is actually a very serious issue that we should be able to discuss freely. And sex is a dehydrating process. It takes a toll. So you're bringing it up, checking in. It touches me deeply to know that you consider my well-being. And sex is a crucial part of our relationship, so the subject ought to be out in the open. Don't blush. Go on.
You are a child.
Hey, babe, have you noticed?
Ugh.
Babe, you're always so thirsty after.
All right. I get it.
After we have sex, after I pounded your brains out, screwed, fucked, made love.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. No, making love then, not for us.
Kate drinks water.
So I hear you're dropping Romeo and Juliet this year for 101?
Yes. Shifting the syllabus slightly.
Thought you hated Hamlet.
Hate, as they say, is a strong word.
Yeah, okay. Strongly dislike.
I don't dislike it at all. There are just structural issues. Students have a hard time connecting to the plot when their favorite character disappears for an entire act. Change is good, though, as good as the rest, they also say.
Some change is really good.
Some change, indeed.
Do you think we ever might, you know,
I absolutely do not.
you don't even know what I was going to say.
I have an inkling.
Oh, yeah?
You were going to ask about going public. The answer is no, as always.
Well, all right then. Yeah.
Not all change is good. The syllabus changes. You and I do not. It's just not a good idea. Not yet, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever makes you happy, Robert.
Thank you. Students don't take in anything from the Shakespeare units anyway. Not in 101. It's a crapshoot.
Here, you tie funny. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo?
Wherefore, indeed.
People think that means where are you, Romeo, but they're wrong. She's asking why.
That's correct.
I know.
Not impressive, but correct.
Do you ever stop being a professor?
There's more going on in there. Go on. What's translation without interpretation?
I hate you.
Use it.
Hold on. Well, you're right. It's basic trivia nowadays, but I still find myself thinking about it. Students, they learn the difference, where versus why, and they're like, oh, that's cool. There's an easy extra point on a test. There's something I can bring up at a party and I can sound like I know something. Yeah, I took 101. I learned this one thing. Look at me. Other foot.
This is not very validating to hear as a man who teaches that class.
Cool your jets. This is going somewhere. Oh, man, your sock is fucked. Buy new ones already.
You were saying?
Yeah.
You think about it.
I think about it. I think about it. It changes the meaning entirely. It changes the way we perceive Juliet's entire thought process. It's not just trivia. So we meet Juliet, one of the title characters. She's one of the most well-known literary characters out there, and she doesn't fucking talk. Not a fucking word.
There are a few words in there.
Well, okay, yeah, she says a few things, but the point is she's on stage and everybody in her life doesn't shut up. Nobody lets her make decisions for herself. And then her most famous line, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Everybody fucking misinterprets. It's brutal. But yeah, I think people write her off too easily. She's no Hamlet maybe, but she makes her own fucking decisions. And she thinks, wherefore, why this extraordinary boy, the boy who she loves, she is fated to love, why he has to be Romeo. Because she knows deep down that it can never be. They say that characters in a tragedy are somehow aware of their own ultimate demise, and they spend the entire story trying to avoid it, but they know. They all know they're going to lose in the end. There.
Thank you.
Wherefore art thou Romeo? It's tragic, really, that one line. She says his name out loud, and that's it for her. That's the decision. She said his name was too good, it sealed her fate. She fell in love. That's what's going on in there.
Color me impressed.
See, I did learn something in your class.
Top of your class.
You're damn right.
The brightest student I ever had the privilege of teaching.
It helps that I couldn't take my eyes off the instructor. You know, I rather enjoyed R&J. I think it's a great choice for a freshman course.
Yes, well, as I said, it's tired. I'm worn of it. It was time for a change. Every few years, the board, they like to see...
It's because of Emily, isn't it? I know it was her favorite. I shouldn't have asked.
You most certainly should not have. I'm sorry. I'm just, you know.
Yeah. It'll be a year tomorrow, won't it? Today?
Today? Today, yes. I suppose it is. 1 year. You have a frighteningly good memory.
I'm so sorry. I don't even know what happened to her.
That's fine.
I wish you weren't sad. You don't deserve to be so sad, Robert.
Don't I, though?
Robert picks up his wedding ring and places it on his finger.
What can I do?
Nothing.
I can make you feel good.
No, Kate.
I can make you happy, Robert.
No, you cannot.
That's terrible.
Kate, you are on your track. I am on mine. Our paths intersect where they do, no more, no less. But our tracks continue on. You stay on yours, I stay on mine. I cannot make myself more clear. Do you understand me? Kate, do you understand?
Yes.
Kate?
Sir, yes, sir.
Hey, I need to make sure this is okay, you and me, this arrangement.
Arrangement?
What else would you call it? Kate?
Stop.
Kate?
Stop it.
Stop what?
Stop saying my name like that.
Like what?
And no, fuck. I don't know. I have to.
Kate.
She exits to the bathroom. The water turns on. Kate splashes water onto her face, looks at herself in the mirror, shakes her head. Robert has turned to the bathroom, staring off into the slightly closed door. He steps toward it, stops in the middle of the room, toys with his wedding ring.
Kate, can you hear me? God, this is exactly what Emily would have done. Seek out the other side of some proverbial wall and wait for me to do the talking.
Robert sits on the bed.
Kate, I am a sad old man. I cannot for the life of me fathom why someone like you wants so desperately to love me. You remind me of her, Emily. She was also full of light, full of love. I fell so quickly for her. We were so goddamn young, Kate. So young. She wasn't healthy, though. The highs were so high, but the lows... I would hold her. It was like sand falling out of my arms, trickling between my fingers. I wanted her to get help, but she wouldn't have it. She wanted me, only me. I couldn't do it. Long nights, endless nights. I was a coward. I am a coward. I shouldn't have left her. Not when I was the only thing holding her up. I knew she was going to do something drastic. I knew it. And I left her anyway. You wanted to know what happened? This is it. I held her. This is what happens to the things that I hold.
Kate has covered her mouth with her hand.
I am content with this loneliness, the emptiness that I have, because I deserve no less. I have earned the right to it. This hole in my chest, this cold space next that lives next to me, always in the bed that she and I once shared.
Robert stands and crosses to the bathroom.
Kate, if I told you plainly that I will never fully love you, I will touch you, I will care for you. I may even someday reach out to hold you, but I will never love you. If I told you that, would you still come back to me? Night after night, in the dark, where no one else can see?
Kate is leaning fully against the wall between her and Robert, arms wrapped tightly around herself, head tilted against the door.
Yes.
Robert stares in awe. As if he could see her, as if there was no wall between them, he reaches out to the space where she is. This time, he does not resist the urge to touch the wall, touch her. Just before he makes contact, Kate steps away. She turns off the faucet. Robert stops, then pulls away. She wipes her eyes, shakes her head, smiles, and waves her arms around as if preparing for a grand performance.
You'd think a place like this would have some face wash. Don't they usually? The hand soap dries out my skin.
I believe they have lotion.
Yeah, I'll try that.
Kate, your eyes are red.
Yeah, that shitty soap got in my eyes. Stings like a mother.
The soap?
I know what we can do.
What?
Get you all jazzed again. Your aura is cloudy.
Yes.
Tickle me!
I can't tickle you. It won't work. You know that it's coming.
No, I don't. Don't think about it, Robert. Not anymore, not tonight. Let's let go. Just a little while longer.
Robert takes a moment. He steps toward her and she scrunches her face with delight as she anticipates his touch. He pokes at her ribs, causing her to jerk away and giggle, but she does not surrender her vulnerable position. He laughs and tickles her belly, which causes more laughter from her. Robert now smiles with complete abandon as if his sorrows have never touched him. It is joyous and finally gives us an explanation to the chemistry between the two. He throws her over his shoulder, spins around, both laughing and screaming wildly. He sets her back on the edge of the bed. His smile fades a bit, his hands upon her stomach. It looks as if he wants to kiss her. He leans in, breathes lightly into her face, so close. He removes his wedding ring.
He can come home late as can be. Home without him ain't no home to me. Can't help loving that man of mine.
Black.
And thank you, actors, again. Fantastic. Yeah. Bryn, I'll ask you the same question I asked Charlie before. Is there anything specific that you'd like for us to comment on? Or I should have asked before we started reading, actually, but if there was anything you wanted us to listen for.
So when I wrote this, it was sort of an exercise in writing dialogue. So just choosing a complex relationship and kind of toying with the when to drop what information at certain points to, like, I don't know, and trying to write dialogue that is artful but still sounds realistic. So it's more than anything, I think it was an experiment in trying to nail chemistry in the language. So I think, obviously, I'm open to hearing anything about it, but that was my focus when I wrote this. I started writing it in college, and I wanted to write a female character that I would have feasibly wanted to play if it felt like roles like that were available at the time. So I was targeting like that age, like a female role. So I wrote sort of Kate first, and then over the last couple of years, I've been coming back to Robert and trying to make him more of a three-dimensional character. So that, I think that's another question I would have is, does it seem like the characters are actually balanced now, or is it very clear that the playwright favors the female role over the male? Because I sort of do, but yeah, I'm open to hearing anything.
All right. Well, we'll try our best to answer those. I'm going to speak for myself before I give anybody else a chance, and just say that I thought the dialogue was fantastic. I especially loved how you had the characters talk when the water was running and really give their full, feelings while the other person couldn't really hear what was being said. So if you would please turn your camera back on and your microphone for sure if you have a comment for Bryn at this time, and give her your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I thought the speech, the long speech that Robert did, I guess the character's name is Robert, was brilliant. I was like engrossed with it. So I was like really impressed by that speech. Although it was a male character, I thought it was the best speech in the play. So that's it for me.
I wanted to say that I really like dropping in the literary analysis of Romeo and Juliet right in the middle of a love story. And I thought that was a great way to expose her intelligence. So while she seems like she's, sort of just playing the typical faithful female slave to a love she cannot have, she's actually a very intelligent human being and understands fully well the jeopardy she's placed herself in. So.
Yeah, the dialogue was fantastic.
Yeah.
And the people they were three-dimensional. They were there, and you're right. You get to know them slowly, all during the scene, and except for the fact that my wife called me on the phone right in the middle of it, and so I think I missed about 5 minutes or so of it. No, what I'm saying is that drew me, even though I had lost a lot of the plot, it drew me right back in again, and I was still in it. Says, oh.
I would like to say that it's immediately obvious that this is a married man, that she's having an affair with a married man. So over my long lifetime, you come to say, oh man, why would this woman be in this relationship? I love him. That's not enough. So I'm saying, why is she sleeping with her professor? Because if it's just that she's hot for him and then she's a dope and I don't care about her, but because there were people in my college who did that. But you've got to, I hope that you have more depth to this girl. And I love him. I don't care if he's married. And I like the twist that his wife has died. I like that twist. But I'd like to be a little more sympathetic earlier in the play because, you know, the beginning, I'm like, this girl's a dope. He's exploiting her and she's an idiot.
Those relationships happen all the time, though.
Oh, don't you think I know it?
A slice of life.
The one thing I didn't like is his repeated phrase, "You're such a child."
Mm-hmm.
Actually, in many ways, I thought he was more of a child. So,
Mm-hmm. Do you think would that?
I actually quite like that because it seemed to turn round on itself. I mean, I kept thinking that when he said that, no, he's the child. Oh, that's the point of it.
Okay.
So I actually quite.
Well,
like
that's maybe there's a way for me to like actually emphasize the irony in that. That could be fun. Yeah.
I think it. I think the reality of that conversation, the verisimilitude of it, if you want to have a technical term, is, I think, spot on, because it just the way it flowed, and like someone said, the literal analysis in between all of this. I mean, that's stuff. That's how conversations happen. You know, like you're having sex, and then you're in this time afterwards, and you're just talking about whatever, and it has this natural flow to it. And I don't know, I just, like you said, like it's a short scene, but you do kind of get to know them, the two characters, pretty well in that, just the way they react and talk about that stuff.
I think there's a lot of depth because there's so much subtext. You know, the characters aren't always saying what they really feel.
I thought some of the flows of her emotions were really subtle. But it was very realistic about all the different sort of feelings that she was going through. Yeah, I thought that really came across well.
One thing, Bryn, you may or may not know that First Run Theatre does a 10-minute play festival each year called Spectrum. It would be worthwhile submitting this. It's, you know, it would fit right in. It's about the right length. It's, you know, I think it would go quite well.
Thank you.
The ending was well done, I thought. You know, the bookends of her singing, open the play and end it with her singing, worked really nicely. It was sweet, but poignant at the same time.
And thanks to Annie for doing the singing, because I know she had grave misgivings about doing any singing, and we made her sing in both of those.
Yeah, twice.
Annie, you did good.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments before we roll on to the next play? All right, Bryn, thanks so much for bringing your work in and bring it back and bring in more for us. Very enjoyable.
And please join us on all our calls in the future and give us your opinion.
So we move on to the those things we do. I imagine, could there be singing in this one too? Because I'm hearing a song. Those Things We Do by Dennis Fisher. And Dennis, before we begin, is there anything you would like for us to listen for?
This is a work in progress. Eventually it'll have 4 characters. We're only going to see 2 of them today. I'm fascinated in the past 4 years at how falsehoods are embraced and made into reality. And that's going to be a central theme of this eventually. But we're kind of getting to know the characters at first here. Peg, Peg is doing the stage directions. If you could turn the video off and just read them, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
All right. So then Peg Flack is reading the stage directions. The part of Perry is played by the author Dennis Fisher, it looks like. And the part of Jeannie tonight is played by.
Harry Robert.
All right. And I'll let you guys go.
Those things we do. Scene 1. We're in a bedroom. Jeannie and Perry are in bed under the covers, wrapping in an enthusiastic bout of physical intimacy. There are groans of pleasure that morph into screams of passion and then silence. In a moment, covers pull back and we see the couple who are disheveled and spent.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Wow.
My head almost exploded.
Wow.
You're usually so literate, so verbally precise.
In this case, wow is precision.
They rest for a moment in silence. Finally,
Harry,
Yes,
I have something I need to tell you.
I love you too.
Not that. Promise you won't get mad?
Now I'm a little worried. What's on your mind and why would I get mad?
Well, I'm getting married on Saturday.
they stare at each other. Lights fade. End of scene. Scene 2. 4 months and 3 days later, Perry is in a coffee shop as Jeannie enters. They greet each other. Jeannie tries to hug Perry. He holds out his hand.
It's so great to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Just nice.
Just nice.
This is a surprise. I thought you never wanted to see me again.
That was the plan, but there's something I want to tell you, that I need to tell you, something that's been eating at me.
Must be important. How are you? Are you okay?
There's no need to small talk. I just want to pass on information.
If you say so.
When it ended, I was aware that my modest lifestyle was a problem for you. It seemed like you were intrigued by how simply I lived and my interest in Buddhism.
I'm confused. I liked you a lot, but when he proposed, well.
For the record, I'm a doctor too. A PhD makes you a doctor.
Of course. It's impressive. You teach at a junior college, though, not really the same as a medical doctor.
But a doctor nonetheless.
That's true.
I was searching. I read the Dharma Bumps by Kerouac and I discovered Buddhism and I decided to live as simply as possible. It appealed to my better angels.
I always admired that.
You had to question if I could provide for you like the MD could.
I guess it crossed my mind.
I wanted you to like me for being me, but I wasn't totally forthcoming with you. I didn't lie, but I didn't tell you the whole truth about my life.
You didn't tell me what?
My family didn't have money, but we had a lot of land along the floodplain, going back to when my people came to Illinois in the 1800s. It flooded every year, so it was pretty much worthless.
Okay, interesting, but I don't get the point.
At some point, the state put dikes up for flood control, and immediately the land along the river became some of the best land in the world, best farmland in the world. My grandpa went from broke to rich.
Why are you telling me this?
My grandpa wanted his grandchildren to have to establish themselves in life before they got money. But when we hit 30, we each get our share of the wealth. Next month, I get $15 million and some change.
Jeannie looks stunned.
Oh my, this is unbelievable. Wow.
I didn't want you to know because I wanted you to love me because of who I am, not what I have.
I always loved you for who you are. That's the truth. The whole MD thing made my gyroscope wobble.
Had you told me about the MD, I would have told you about my inheritance.
One withheld thought away from a different life.
One infidelity away from fidelity.
That's unfair.
Whatever. As it turns out, I never have to worry about money. I'm set.
I'm speechless.
I thought there was a certain irony that wealth was important to you and that you dumped on a guy who loved you and who had the money, lots of money.
I feel bludgeoned with irony.
Doesn't feel good, does it?
It doesn't.
Does it make you feel pain?
It does.
That's how karma works.
Did you tell me this just to hurt me?
Maybe.
That doesn't seem to fit your Buddhist ideals.
Well, it's a paradox, isn't it?
You implied that all I cared about was money.
Did I imply or did I infer?
Funny, you always have to be the most clever person in the room.
Yeah, and in a month, I'll be the cleverest and the richest person in the room.
Long silence.
Well, we've exchanged information. Goodbye.
Jeannie gets up.
That's it?
That's it.
Why did you tell me this now?
For reasons that don't flatter me.
Jeannie exits in a rush. Perry watches the door close behind her. He stares for a moment and then he puts his head in his hands and sobs. After a few moments, Jeannie re-enters and approaches. Perry quickly composes himself.
Back so soon.
May I sit down?
He motions to chair. She sits down.
I need to share information too. I haven't told you the whole story either.
What is there to add? The story's already an attention grabber. You couldn't make it more tawdry.
Sarcasm does not flatter you, Perry. I'm not going to beat about the bush. It's not going well for James and me.
And James is?
You know very well that James is my husband.
Of course. Had I only been aware of that name when I was falling in love with you, I might have come up with an exit strategy that didn't involve my spirit being crushed.
I get that now. I should have handled it differently.
A little late for self-reflection, but baby steps, I guess.
Well, things aren't good with James and I. In fact, things between James and I are bad. Very bad.
Well, that was quick. How many months of matrimony have you shared with Dr. James?
You know.
And of all the people in the world to share your many problems with, you choose the guy whose heart you broke. Let's see, 4 months and 3 days ago, immediately after we engaged in an intimate act.
I told you I was sorry that I hurt you.
Yes, that certainly made up for the fact that you waited until 3 days before your wedding to tell me you were engaged to another fella, while I labored under the impression that we were in an exclusive relationship.
You made your point, and I never told you we were exclusive.
After a year of dating, one might assume exclusivity.
A year's not that long.
Still trying to figure out how you could be spending almost every day with me while being engaged to someone else. But then MDs are busy, aren't they?
Don't be mean. I need to talk to you.
You don't have anyone else to serve as a confessor?
I made a terrible mistake.
No, you made a pragmatic decision. Congratulations again on landing a freshly minted MD.
James is a good man.
A man with status and money.
Well, he had an accident.
A serious accident?
He made a mistake.
And that mistake was?
A patient died.
Now, I wondered why you agreed to meet with me. Mystery solved.
I was stressed out. When you called, I realized you make me less stressed. He makes me more stressed. I want to be less stressed. Now he's accidentally killed someone.
How long has he been practicing medicine?
6 months.
Well, that didn't take long, but at least you made sure he had a couple of actual doctor months under his belt before you sent me packing.
Don't be cruel.
No, cruel is killing a patient. I'm just small talking.
We had a fight earlier in the week. James was distracted when he did his rounds at the hospital and he made a mistake. He told the nurse the wrong medicine to put in an IV and the patient died. It was a mistake, a little mistake, and she died.
I wouldn't call that a little mistake.
And now he's being sued. He'll lose his job, maybe even his license, and I'm ruined.
You're ruined?
Yes, damn it, I'm ruined.
Well, things haven't turned out too well for James either.
You know what I mean.
And things didn't turn out real well for the patient, wouldn't you say? But I see how you're the real victim here.
Don't be an ass.
What were you fighting about?
That's personal.
You came to tell me. Tell me.
Well, we were fighting over the fact that we
Cut to the chase.
never had sex, for God's sake.
Never? You dumped me for a guy who doesn't...
We did once before the wedding. Well, we started, then he got nervous.
That's a hell of a case of nerves. You didn't have sex on your wedding night?
No.
Or since?
No.
Well, I begin to understand why the fling I interpreted as a relationship was so important to you. I take back my declaration that you couldn't make it more tawdry. Mission accomplished.
What have I done?
Well, that's easy. You gave up a relationship with a guy holding wealth and a bottomless libido for a guy who doesn't want to have sex and whose money's about to disappear. That's not going in the Game Plan Hall of Fame.
God.
You going to stand by your man?
Oh, what to do?
So you've come to the person whose heart you casually broke for advice. That makes sense. No, wait, that doesn't make any sense.
It's been 4 months since, since I
Pulled the wings off a butterfly?
made love, damn it. You know how great we were together.
Were, until you humiliated me.
I lost my head. The wife of a doctor. I lost my head. I wasn't thinking clearly. I always dreamed of being the wife of a doctor. Isn't that every girl's dream?
In 1958?
The status, the lifestyle, the country club.
The bidets. Didn't Buddha say that desire is the cause of all suffering?
I have a hotel room around the corner.
Say what?
Do you remember that one night at my apartment? We worked our way through every room and closet. Afterwards, you joked that we had gone around the world.
That's a night that's permanently etched in my memory.
Mine too. Let's relive that. Let's go around the world. I need it desperately.
You're a piece of work. No.
Please.
Absolutely not. I obviously made a mistake calling you.
We can relive that night. Do you recall what we did in the closets? A hotel suite has 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and 2 closets around the world.
4 months and 3 days.
You need it as much as I do.
Am I that shallow?
I should have chosen you. Remember that one thing I do that you love so much? Remember?
You don't remember. You don't forget something like that.
I knew something was up with James, but I got greedy. Oh, God, please let me share myself with you just one more time.
I don't know.
That thing I do? You said it drove you mad with pleasure.
You do it well. It's like torture, the best kind of torture.
I'm certain James is gay. I got greedy and married a gay man. He's in denial about who he is. I'm going crazy. Please hold me tonight like before. Please. The thing.
She whispers sexily in his ear. His eyes get big.
Where's the hotel again?
Jeannie passionately kisses Perry on the lips. Lights fade to darkness. End of scene. Scene 3. Lights rise. It is later in the evening. Perry and Jeannie are in a disheveled hotel bed. Jeannie has a look of contentment. Perry looks spent.
We are meant to be together.
I don't know about that.
You always stimulated me so much. You're so erudite.
Have you been reading the thesaurus?
You use words really good.
You know, you're sexy when you misspeak.
James, it was all medicine all the time. Well, he did like to go to drag shows.
And that didn't set up warning signs?
Hindsight is 20/20. He really had nothing that interested me. What was I thinking?
Well, he had one thing that really interested you. He had a really huge
Don't be crass.
wallet.
His dad was a brutal alcoholic.
Source of pain.
A lot of pain in that family.
A lot of pain everywhere.
He's been depressed.
It's tough all over.
He doesn't want to live.
Oh, that's serious.
I can't live with him.
Well, divorce him.
Can't afford to live without him.
Community property, 50-50.
Prenup.
You signed a prenup?
I wasn't thinking clearly.
Clearly.
The Bible says women should obey man.
You lost me there.
This has been hard. I got involved in Bible study. I'm in an online group.
That surprises me.
Women should obey the man unless the man can't perform his carnal duties.
Well, that's in the Bible?
He has a gun.
What?
I'm his sole beneficiary.
Perry sits upright in bed and stares at Jeannie in shock.
Whoa.
Just thinking out loud, brainstorming, cross-referencing with things I've learned in my group.
Perry looks shocked.
We've rested enough. What path shall we take around the world now?
She rolls on top of him, grabbing his crotch as she moves. Lights dim. One light remains focused on his face, his eyes like deer's in a headlight. Blackout, end of scene.
And that's the
End of play.
End of what we have so far. Thanks, Mary. You were wonderful.
You're welcome, Dennis. That was fun.
Is this film noir night or something?
Right, yeah.
Right. There's a theme.
Or maybe it's women you don't really want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. It does seem to have been a theme tonight, doesn't there?
Yeah.
Rob, your mic's off.
There you go. Leadership.
Well, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
What's
better.
going on?
Thank you. We need comments for Dennis. What things do you think worked in the play so far?
I love all the twists and turns.
I found this very
unpredictable and completely captured my attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody else had started to say something. Go ahead. Okay.
Hey, Dennis, has this changed? I remember reading this some time ago, correct?
I did my little play a day thing, and it was a chunk of the play a day thing that this grew out of.
Okay. So how do you saying you see it? How do you see it as fitting into the whole? Because you said you have this idea of two other characters and.
Yeah, when the other characters come in, the theme that I hope to pursue will be a little more clear. I hope. What the hell? It's not written. Who knows?
So Perry's character, I think, is very likable in the sense of we understand him. Jeannie's character is just unlikable from the beginning too. Would it be more effective if somehow I don't know if she changed or she was likable at some point and then we find out how unlikable she is, or does that work for everybody that she's kind of the villain to begin with?
My hope is that every character will be extremely unlikable by the end.
Because I was really thinking your character's a little bit fishy and suspicious too, Dennis. So that's what I liked about it, is that, you really don't know where it's going, because it's kind of like a red herring with him, but maybe he just isn't so nice, So I like that.
Hey, Dennis, now I've got over the shock of you fooling around with my wife like that.
I apologize, David.
You're not a doctor. You said you were a doctor.
Not a real doctor.
No, a doctor.
A docker. Yeah.
Where is it going? Because
Well, if I told you that, it wouldn't
we have
be
to
fun
wait
until
until we.
later. I have a plan that I hope will happen, but maybe we'll see this in November, and I don't want the surprises to.
All right. Okay. And we have a cunning plan. Okay.
And I apologize. I waited until we were doing this on Zoom before I did it because I didn't want you to throttle me after the scene.
It almost seemed like both had ulterior motives, or they're both withholding, because I've had a lot of arguments like that in the past where someone felt betrayed, but they weren't being betrayed, but it just seemed that way.
Yeah.
Have sex with me. No, please. No. Sorry, I just can resist.
Yeah, I don't know, just for me, he's just a little bit too good to be true. Like, it just seems like he might have a bit of something going on underneath all that. But I mean, I know he's a Buddhist and everything, but it just seems a little vengeful.
Obviously, she's a Christian, he's a Buddhist, and I'm going to try to bring in maybe a Muslim and a pagan for the other characters.
I didn't realize she was a Christian. Did I miss out on that?
Bible study.
Yeah, I'm not sure bringing in religion is going to help it. I think that it might just muddy the water because people in the American culture of ours largely behave the same way. We are kind of a secular culture. So I think making people of 4 different religions is just going to be a little bit of a distraction.
That's good advice, Mary. Thank you.
And besides, you got something
I like both
against
of the
Hindu?
characters. And I like both of the characters. I mean, they're flawed characters, but I think they're both quite similar. They're both stubborn and are obviously both passionate, and they're both intelligent, and they're fairly evenly matched. So even though, man, you wouldn't want to be their best friend, I kind of like them as characters.
Dennis, is one of the new characters going to be the doctor?
Absolutely.
I'm tempted to say now for something completely different. But we have a new piece by somebody who's new to the group, Nathan. Nathan, do you want to introduce yourself and say a little about this? It's this is something a bit different for us. We typically haven't done stories before, but Nathan's submitted one. We're not going to do all of it because having run through it today, it would probably take about an hour and a quarter, an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. So we're going to do a selection. So perhaps you could do a little bit introduction, Nathan.
Is Nathan still here? Nathan is.
Yeah, I'm still with you, but
good.
The video has been turned off, it says.
Okay.
It's turned off by host. Anyway, this story, Simulacrum, it's actually the first story of a 2-volume set. And it was actually written as part of a wedding bed about 15 years ago. My cousin and I were complaining about the works that were on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I said, it's almost like the information was written by 15-year-old boys. And he said, well, right now, since you're between jobs, go ahead and try writing some of the science fiction stories you had anywhere from the time you were in junior high up to college. So this one, it is science fiction about another planet under an ultraviolet sun, and they're taking the first steps into the space program. So imagine if Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Collins didn't have such a great first flight. They were actually, let's say something would add, and they have to find a way to get back to the surface of the planet after a natural disaster. So basically, you have most of the world is in ruins. You still have 2 astronauts that are stuck up way in space trying to get home.
Nathan, is there anything that you'd like for us to listen for in the writing to comment on later?
Okay. Well, I'm actually new to this, so I mean, I don't know how to what a critique for. I mean, I thought it was it's actually read more as a short story, but just go ahead and I guess what your thoughts are about the plot, or I know it's science fiction, so it's not going to be obviously as plausible. It's not going to be as far-fetched as Star Wars or Star Trek.
Okay.
But hopefully I did try to put something plausible in it.
Right. Very well. So, and we imagine this more of a, this is intended not so much perhaps for the stage as for video or film or something of that nature. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. All right. That gives us a reference point. So I'll turn my camera and mic off and let things begin. Thank you.
Idea about a year ago, before the pandemic hit, was my friend Gary had mentioned that the St. Louis Science Center had their 5-minute shorts, and we were trying to make a movie of it. But one of my friends, she's a photographer, but she said, I don't actually like moving pictures. I'm strictly photography. So we were never able to make it into a short. But that was the eventual idea.
Okay, I'll kick off. There's two sections from this story I'm going to read. First one is called Burning Ice, and the second part is going to be called Re-Entry. The story's already been going for a while, so I'll go straight into it. Hours before his scheduled launch into orbit, Hellier was dreaming about a futuristic aircraft. This magnificent spaceplane was a top-secret military prototype capable of flying into outer space and landing like any conventional airplane. The spaceplane's miniature nuclear reactor was decades ahead of anything in modern aviation, or so Hellier thought. Under the cover of darkness, Hellier taxied out of the hangar to wait clearance for launch. This is Major Hellier. All systems are go. I request clearance to launch, Hellier reported. Major, you are cleared for launch, the Air Force General stated. Acknowledged. Let's start with a vertical takeoff. Hellier tested the aircraft's VTOL and thrust vectoring capabilities. A select group of test pilots watched intently as the spaceplane quickly and effortlessly hovered 1,000 feet above the runway. That's good, Major. Go ahead and fire the rocket at full power. We'll see you just before dawn, Major, the Air Force General ordered. Yes, sir. I might just break the record for achieving escape velocity today. I'll trust you'll monitor me continuously throughout the flight, Hellier replied as he activated the main rocket. Within moments, Hellier was out of sight. At 353,760 feet, Hellier had a perfect view of the entire planet. All of a sudden, his alarm sounded. Nuclear missiles were launching all over the planet. Killer satellites began attacking ICBMs, SLBMs, and other satellites with particle beams, missiles, and self-detonations. Fortunately, Hellier's sophisticated rocket was radar invisible. Hellier quickly flew to a higher orbit above the northwestern continent, where he began targeting incoming missiles with lasers, SAMs, and machine guns. Unfortunately, there were too many missiles. Seconds later, mushroom crowds appeared all over Simulacrum. Contact with the base immediately ceased. Hellier to base! Hellier to base! Is anyone there? Please someone answer, Hellier begged. The explosions only lasted for minutes, but virtually every corner of the planet was affected. Hellier scanned his base for survivors. The base was as he left it, but life was absent because one neutron bomb breached the base's overwhelmed defenses. With ground targets neutralized, killer satellites began targeting each other. Hellier was safe due to the rocket plane's stealth design. Hellier scanned the surface for hours, hoping to find any signs of life. While orbiting above the southwestern continent, Hellier briefly saw a sparkle of light. He instinctively took evasive action, fearing he was targeted by a killer satellite. Much to his surprise, the space plane's telescopic cameras revealed a near-perfect copy of his rocket plane. Hellier was further surprised to see the 6-point star of the southwestern continent on the rocket plane's tail fin. This is Major Pegasus of the southwestern continent. Please identify yourself, a fearful female voice said. This is Major Hellier of the northwestern continent, Hellier responded. Major, I never thought I'd be so happy to see the northern continent's 5-point star. Have you made contact with anyone else from our nations or the eastern continent? No, ma'am, you're it. Nor have I seen any space planes with 4-point stars. The eastern continent was rumored to have a secret space program, but I found nothing. They were just that, rumors. Are there any signs of survivors on the northwestern continent? Nothing. All my hails go unanswered, and my scans of the eastern continent are equally black. We can stay up here forever, Major. Where do you propose we land? Radiation levels are high across the entire planet. There's a tropical archipelago to the west of our continents, midway to the eastern continent. Oh, yes, the abandoned military bases from the Second Global War. My scans show acceptable radiation levels. I'm ready. Let's go. Maybe some military personnel are already there. If you're right, I hope they're friendly. Moments later, Hellier and Pegasus landed on a remote island. They were completely alone. They timorously approached one another. Hellier pulled a coin from his pocket. Well, since you and I are the last two people in the world, heads the northwestern continent wins, tails the southern continent wins, Hellier said. Pegasus nervously chuckled. Hellier then flipped the coin high in the air. Both astronauts watched as the coin fell into the ocean. Hellier awoke, rather startled. He had not had such a frightening nightmare since his childhood. The dream was so real. Hellier was afraid to sleep because the dream terribly frightened him. He called his father to calm his nerves because they often had similar dreams. Hellier, I had a feeling I'd be hearing from you. I suppose you just had a nightmare that sends chills up and down your spine, Lucan said upon answering the telephone. Nightmare is an understatement. What did you see? Hellier asked. I saw forest fires all over the world, followed by a prolonged, harsh winter. I saw Global War 3. Well, there's plenty that can go wrong in an operation of this magnitude. Obviously, I just hope I'm not flying to my own death. I'll be sitting on a ridiculously amount of fuel. True, we wouldn't even attempt space travel if we were concerned about complete safety. Look how much trouble the Eastern Continent Navy had transporting the Cronus V rocket stages to the launching site. I thought the transport barge with the first stage was going to sink when the billows hit. Had the fjords been farther away, the barge would have capsized for sure. And there you have it. The danger is not always in space. Well, at least I'll be up in space if a nuclear war begins. That's not the best dream to have the night before your space launch. Well, we're all a little nervous. Maybe we just need some sleep. Good idea. I'll see you in a few hours. Just before sunrise, President Nikon unexpectedly joined Hellier and his family. I just had to see a space launch for myself, Nikon said upon entering the helicopter to the launch pad. I'm honored. I've had visits from congressmen, foreign ambassadors, and now the president, Hellier said. Prime Minister Wido picked Charis as Captain Chiron's replacement. If he manages to launch in the next few hours, she'll be the first woman in space, Cato exclaimed. Premier Brinius will be rather upset if that happens, since he purposely selected Rena to be the first woman in space, Gratus commented. Even if Charis beats Rena into space, Rena will still be flying with two of the best pilots in the world. I'd love to fly with Gabinus and Gustavus. Their military records are impressive, Lucan stated. Right now, I'm more concerned about my own piloting skills. It's 9 minutes to launch time. Cameraman, can you make an extra copy of the film? Hellier said as the helicopter landed. Certainly, sir. Now everyone smile, the cameraman said as Hellier entered the elevator to his space capsule. Everybody wish me luck, Hellier said. Good luck, everybody replied in unison. Once Hellier was secure in the space capsule, everyone flew to a safe distance. At precisely 5:59 a.m., Hellier was launched into space with thunderous applause. Immediately following Hellier's rocket launch, the Air Force flew his family to the Sanctuary Archipelago. Gratis was scheduled to conduct more high-altitude airship trials. VIPs from the eastern and southwestern continents joined their hosts from the Northwestern Continent Space Administration at the Northwestern Continent Space Tracking Station on Sanctuary Island. Upon arrival, Gratis proceeded to the awaiting experimental pontoon boat-shaped airship Solus. Within minutes, Gratis was ascending thousands of feet above joyful observers. At 85,000 feet, Gratis established three-way communication with Hellier and the Space Tracking Station. Does everybody have adequate visual reception? I can see and hear all of you, Gratis stated. We have good reception of both of you and Hellier, Lucan said. Hellier, were you able to see Charis's launch from orbit? Cato asked. Yes, I did. It was a picture-perfect launch. I lost sight of her when she approached the space lab, Hellier replied. Cronus 5 is just about to launch. You should be in direct line of sight now, Lucan said. I just got a view of it now on my telescope. It's huge, Hellier stressed. The Eastern Continent's about to begin live television coverage in the launch, Greta stated. Just as the Eastern Continent began live broadcasts, a trembler shook in the launch pad. Since all systems were go, the Eastern Continent Space Agency initiated an immediate launch to avoid possible damage to Cronus 5. The world watched in awe as the towering rocket shot into the sky. At 10 miles altitude, Cronus 5 burst into flames. Unbeknownst to the cosmonauts, the O-ring damaged in transport developed a micro-fissure during the trembler. Smiles and glee the world over became cries of sadness, knowing Gabinus, Gustavus, and Rena died in the blink. No, guys, please tell me I'm wrong, because I think I saw a fireball of what used to be Cronus 5, Hellier shouted. That's exactly what you saw, Cato responded. Hellier, if you have it on tape, run it back to us so we can see it from your angle, Lucan said. Guys, I see a Southwestern Continent Air Force plane approaching. Charis's parents should be on that plane. Maybe Charis also saw what happened, Gratis said. The Eastern Continent Navy is reporting more undersea tremors off their western coast, Lucan said. As everyone continued speaking in disbelief, a supervolcano erupted at the North Pole, sending shock waves southwards. We have another serious problem. I see a major mushroom cloud rising above the North Pole. The glaciers ablaze and a mega tsunami is heading south, Hellier exclaimed. Subsequent eruptions and other volcanic change were triggered. Major earthquakes followed the eruptions. Skies in the northern hemisphere were turning black. What's happening down there? I see dark clouds all over the ocean, Hellier shouted. Simulacrum's suffering a massive earthquake. It's even felt in the southern hemisphere, Cato answered. When the shock wave reached the South Pole, another supervolcano buried under the ice cap erupted. Now there's a glacial inferno in the south, Hellier yelled. That means in a few hours 2 mega tsunamis will collide near the equator, Lucan responded. What about me? Volcanic clouds are forming in the distance, Gratis stated. We're still experiencing some tremblers, so stay up there as long as you can, Lucan said. Sanctuary Island may be safer than the air. Red lava shooting out of volcanic islands over Simulacrum. I'm bound to get struck sooner or later, Gratis roared. Start your descent now, Cato demanded. I'm coming down, Gratis replied. Stay a few hundred feet into the air if there's still an earthquake, Lucan ordered. That's a given, Gratis responded. Shall I stay in orbit or attempt a re-entry before it gets worse, Hellier asked. No, stay where you are. We can't raise mission control. We couldn't possibly coordinate a landing on such short notice, Lucan said. We have to do something. I've lost communication with tracking stations all over the world. Pretty soon I won't be able to see the surface. If I land, I must do it now, Hellier stressed. You wouldn't survive. There are no safe places for you now, Gratis said. Listen to them, Hellier. We may not even survive this, Cato implored right before communications failed. Hellier attempted to re-establish communication. After trying every channel, he bounced signals off all nearby satellites. Its efforts were unsuccessful. All he heard was static. With each passing moment, the skies grew darker. Hellier looked through his telescopes for any other flying craft. The Southwestern Continent Space Lab was nowhere to be seen, nor were there any space planes. Hellier was directly over Sanctuary Island when the last clear sky went completely black. 4 hours later, that seemed like an eternity, Hellier noticed a blip on the radar. He immediately began hails. "This is Hellier of Northwestern Continent Space Orbital Space Station. Please respond," Hellier said repeatedly. After trying nearly all channels, he received a reply. "This is Charis of the Southwestern Continent Space Lab. Have you made contact with anyone from our nations or the Eastern Continent?" Charis fearfully asked. "Thank God, I thought I was alone," Hellier exclaimed. "It's nice to finally meet you, Hellier. I wish it were under better circumstances. Unfortunately, you're the only person to speak to me in hours. Do you know if my parents made it to Sanctuary Island?" "I don't know. My brother spotted their plane, but that was the last I heard." "Do you have any bright ideas, Hellier?" "I'm open to suggestion." "What did your mission control tell you?" "They said, 'Stand by for further instructions.' Then communication failed." "Then we wait. But in the meantime, let's see if we can synchronize our orbits to about 100 yards from each other." "Gladly. We should have visual in a few hours when our paths crossed." "Do you have video capability?" "Of course, but the quality may be bad while we're bouncing signals off satellites." "Don't worry, we'll make do." On activating video, Hellier was impressed by Charis's beautiful, flowering raven hair and ebony eyes. Charis was equally pleased by Hellier's bright blue eyes and short brown hair. After several hours of conversation, Hellier and Charis successfully synchronized their orbits. That's the end of that section. I'm going to move on to the next section called Re-entry. After 1 month, isolated in space, hopelessness was overtaking Hellier and Charis. They were now suffering the initial effects of psychosis. Hallucinations and delusions were common occurrences. Their dreams also became more vivid. Early one morning, Hellier dreamed that he and Charis were pilots during the Second Global War. "Charis, we can't outrun that dust storm. We have to land soon," Hellier yelled. "Tell me of something I don't know," Charis shouted. "Look to my port side. There's a mesa-shaped island." "Now you're making sense. Let's go." Hellier and Charis landed their prop-driven planes moments before the dust storm swept across the island. Immediately following the dust storm, a helicopter approached. Hellier was overjoyed to see his brother Gratis at the controls with Luke and his co-pilot. "Couldn't you guys have picked a better landing spot?" Gratis asked jokingly. "We didn't have much choice," Charis said. "Well, come on then. Everyone's waiting for you back at the base," Lucan exclaimed. "I was beginning to think you forgot about us," Hellier said. "Your families never stopped looking." A stranger in a silver-coloured fireproof suit said. The sound of metallic footsteps awoke Hellier from his dream. He immediately peered out of the window. Concerned spatial debris was striking the station. Lucky the hull was not perforated as he feared. The sky was clear of debris. Hellier was puzzled because the footsteps now sounded as if something were crawling across the station. Hellier followed the footsteps towards the window facing Charis's space station. "Whoa, where in the world did you come from?" Hellier shouted as a bright, silver-coloured, upside-down knight suddenly faced him through the window. For the moment, the knight's face mask became clear, revealing a handsome man with tan skin, brown hair, and striking, solid blue eyes. "I have journeyed an unimaginable distance just to find you, Hellier," the knight said. "Charis, wake up! There's another astronaut out there!" Hellier hailed Charis. Hellier heard a blood-curdling scream from Charis. "Hellier, something's trying to get in here!" Charis yelled as the female knight looked her in the eye. The clear face mask revealed a beautiful, fair-skinned brunette with solid ebony eyes. As the knight facing Hellier turned right side up, Hellier saw another knight crawling on Charis's station. "You need not fear us. We are here to ensure your survival," the knight said. "Who are you?" Hellier demanded. "My name is Heracles. My wife Helen is visiting Charis, the knight said. I'd given up on a rescue. Where's your ship? Charis asked. We are not your rescue party, Helen answered. Prepare your re-entry modules for landing. Your families will come for you in a matter of hours, Heracles said, just before he and Helen were inexplicably yanked away from the space stations in the blink of an eye. Where'd they go? Charis asked. I don't know. I could have sworn lightning plucked them away from us. Is that what you saw? Helier inquired. Yes, that's exactly what I thought happened. Should we believe what they say? We have no choice. Our rations will be gone soon. One way or another, we're going home. But we can't see through the ash and we have no mission control to guide us home. We can starve to death and burn up during re-entry in a few weeks or take our chances today. I'm ready to go home. Then we'll go together. That's the spirit. Let's see if we can contact someone on the surface. The possibility of rescue gave Helier and Charis a new sense of hope. Not even the sight of their blackened planet depressed them as they attempted to send and receive radio signals to Simulacrum. Static was all they heard. 15 minutes later, they ceased their futile attempts to contact survivors. Now what do? We can't reach anyone, Charis said. Let's do our pre-flight checks and leave communications open. The knight said in a matter of hours. So we have plenty of time, Helier said. Our new friends didn't give us much information, like who's supposed to guide us down. If they can exist, I'll take a leap of faith that helps coming. 1 hour later, Helier and Charis completed their re-entry preparations. In the event help did not arrive, the discussed... Sorry, I'll do that again. 1 hour later, Helier and Charis completed their re-entry preparations. In the event help did not arrive, they discussed possible landing sites. Well, now we're committed. I just ate my last rations, Helier stated. Me too. Let's take whatever remaining water we have with us. I hope you have a good landing site in mind, Charis said. Our best bet is my uncle's farm. I know the latitude and longitude. Why is this farm so special? Because it's in the northwestern continent's central plains and his farm has a well. It's a highly agrarian area with a low population. The grain silos were overflowing before the eruptions. If everyone's dead, there'll be abundant food. Do you have a plan B if your uncle's farm did not fare well? My grandparents' house also has some grain storage bins. If neither place fared well, we'll go to my parents' place. They have 2 small feed bins and a creek is nearby. Never thought I'd be saved by a bunch of farmers. I wouldn't worry too much. Maybe we're not a bunch of simpletons like you think. For the next hour, Helier briefed Charis on the landing zone terrain. Just when they reviewed the final coordinates, a voice sounded on the radio. Gratis to Helier. Come in, please. Gratis to Helier. Come in, please. Gratis said as the bright white Solus emerged from the dust. Seconds later, Gratis appeared on the view screens. Gratis, this is Helier. How do you find us? Helier exclaimed. Us? Does that mean Charis is with you? Gratis asked. Yes, I am, Charis exclaimed. Where is everybody? Helier inquired. We're on Sanctuary Island, Gratis answered. How do you survive? Charis asked. The Sanctuary Archipelago was a natural barrier to the 2 armies, Lucan stated. Dad, is Mom with you? Helier asked. I'm here, honey. I also have 2 people who wish to speak to Charis, Cato said. Charis, baby, it's so good to hear your voice, Katerina said. We thought we'd lost you, Hurius said. Mom, Dad, I wasn't sure if you had made it to the island, Charis exclaimed. Guys, this is all well and good, but I need to brief Helier and Charis on the splashdown procedures. I'll keep a channel open, Gratis interrupted. Splashdown? You plan to bring us down in the water in complete darkness? Charis growled. Relax. Now, listen to me. We have 6 Navy vessels and a merchant marine cargo ship to assist in the recovery. Numerous Air Force and Army planes and helicopters will also provide support. I'll have the whole plan explained to you in about an hour. For the next hour, Gratis gave a detailed description of the splashdown procedures in the recovery area. Do either of you have any quick questions? Gratis asked. Not at all. Just get us down from here, Helia said. What if we deviate outside of the proposed recovery area? Charis asked. All available smaller patrol boats will be on the lookout for you both. All boats, aircraft, and buildings will be illuminated with white lights instead of ultraviolet light. White light's kind of blinding for us, Helia said. Yeah, but it's also the brightest light in this darkness. You can't miss it. Even at noon, it's as if the sky were covered by the blackest rain clouds I've ever seen. For one last favor to us, illuminate the sky hooks on your parachutes. We need all the help in the world to spot you. Our parachutes will deploy at the programmed altitude. Make sure you stay out of our way, Charis said. We may drift for miles if we manage not to collide with anything. Are boats and planes ready now? Helia said. Yes, now one last thing. The wind's blowing from the west as usual, so Helia, you go to my north and Charis go to my south. So please don't hit me, Charis said. Understood, Helia and Charis said. You never know. Maybe we'll make contact with the continent. Hopefully other scientists in Simulacrum are attempting communication with the high-altitude Butte balloons if they've survived, Gratis concluded. 160 minutes later, when Helia and Charis were directed to Sanctuary Island, they detached from their space stations. Unseen in the distance, Heracles and Helen started a rapid descent towards the re-entry modules. The sudden return to gravity was excruciating for Helen and Charis. Remember, guys, we'll lose communication for a while due to atmospheric friction, Gratis warned. Affirmative, Helia and Charis responded. Heracles and Helen hovered above Helia and Charis until they reached the edge of the atmosphere. During the communications blackout, Heracles and Helen maneuvered in front of the re-entry module's windows. Whoa! Helia and Charis screamed upon seeing Heracles and Helen enveloped in flames. Spread your wings once you leave the fire. The bird will carry you to the city on the sea, Heracles instructed Helia while leaning on his re-entry module. Do exactly as Helia does, Helia heard Helen instruct Charis. Moments later, the re-entry module successfully cleared the incredible atmospheric heat. Terminal velocity came seconds later. Charis, open your parachute now, Helia ordered. Done, Charis replied. Well done, Doctor. We shall meet again, Heracles said, just before he and Helen eerily ascended into the dusty upper atmosphere. Ground crews were surprised at the dramatic deceleration. General Rodolphus, they deployed their parachutes early. You have time to catch them up with Skyhook. They don't need to splash down, Lucan quickly suggested. You're right, helicopter pilots, you heard him. We're going to do the first space capsule landing on a carrier deck in history. I want Helia on the Cerberus. Charis gets the Egery. Rodolphus ordered his Air Force Special Forces pilots. 5 minutes later, the re-entry modules were low enough for the successful Skyhook. Cheers erupted through the Sanctuary Islands archipelago when medical crews helped Helia and Charis onto the carrier decks with their parents' assistance. Morale was high once again. Gratis, we got them. Come on down, Lucan exclaimed. No, he must stay. There are 2 more astronauts, Helia interjected. You and Charis were the last astronauts in orbit, Cato stated. He's right. I saw them. They spoke to us, Charis interrupted. Charis, you were hallucinating. You've been breathing stale air, Katerina stated. Gratis can't stay up any longer. The winds are increasing, Hirius said. Wait a minute, guys. I don't see astronauts, but I'm receiving radio signals from several points of origin. There are survivors scattered in remote areas of the continents, Gratis joyfully reported. Gratis, you got 10 more minutes, then we reel you in, Rodolphus said. Acknowledged, Gratis replied. And that is the end of that section. And I think that's all we're probably going to do tonight.
Right. Dave, thanks for reading so nicely. And let's go to comments and anything that you have to say to, I'm sorry, to Nathan. Right, I'll start and say I thought it was really visual. I can imagine this as a screenplay or as a teleplay or something. I think
hopefully you got the bit that there was a little bit of a, the one couple had a little, or the two of the gentlemen had a little extrasensory perception. Well, somebody forgot to mention the introduction.
Yeah, I don't know if I picked up on that, but I see it as being very visual, and really could see it as a screenplay or as a teleplay. I kind of felt like personally maybe it needed more of an emotional track. I think there's a great action track, but you know, in a screenplay especially, you know, you've got this track that you know, the action track serves for the emotional track. So I felt like I needed to know more what the incentives were, what these people were thinking, what they were feeling, even more than what they were thinking. You know, maybe a little more urgency in that was my thought.
Feeling of desperation.
Well, yeah, desperation, but you know, what if, I mean, it was kind of a universal action of, you know, things are falling apart, got disasters and trying to save, but you know, what if this guy was, all he could think about was his children or something and trying to save his children, or, you know, something more personal for him than just the kind of the universal dilemma. Just a thought. Others?
Nathan, what's your intentions for this? I mean, as it stands, it's a story, so we shouldn't expect it to read like a play. So there's a lot of description, a lot of adjectives. We talk about what people see, like a handsome man with tan skin, brown hair, and solid blue eyes, and all this sort of thing, which you wouldn't have in a play. Looking at the dialogue strikes me as very kind of comic book. Is that what you intended?
Yeah, kind of almost like a comic book or like a science fiction movie.
Right, because I almost feel this, a better format for this might be a comic book. It could make a movie, but it would require a lot of technical input. And the dialogue, when I say it's comic book, the dialogue doesn't come across as kind of realistic. It comes across as very comic book style. But I don't know if that's what you intended. That's what I'm asking.
I never really thought it was like when I was writing, I didn't have a comic book in mind. Because basically what I was doing, I was trying to, I got another friend in college that used to sell some of her stories to, like, you know, lesser publications. So she did novels, but these were just like short stories you'd see in a kind of some of the science fiction magazines like Dell or Asimov. But sometimes you'd have they probably wanted something shorter than like a 20-page book or something.
Right.
Well, right now these are actually on a German bookrips.com.
Right. Are you familiar with the FARC website, farc.com?
Unfortunately, I am not.
I only became familiar with it recently because my brother actually got something published there in one of their books, and this strikes, and he sent me a copy, and I've been reading it, and this strikes me as the sort of thing that they would very much like to see.
Now, if I heard it correctly, is that like FARK?
FARK, yeah.
Okay.
Look at that. I think with it, if you simply turn the story into a screenplay, I don't think you could get the film made, because I don't think the dialogue is realistic enough. That's why I was asking about the whether you're intended to be comic bookish. Did that come across when I was reading it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely it's been a while since I wrote this, but it looked like it definitely used some more work if you're trying to make it into something live action. Now, the one unfortunate thing about this story, and like the others in the series, when I wrote them, you're actually the most feedback I've ever gotten from anybody. You know, basically when I write these, you know, give them my friends or whatever, friends or family, so they read them when they can. So whatever I'm doing right or wrong, I don't know about it because I'm not really getting the feedback. So
Right.
if I can make errors or continue the errors as I continue writing.
I'll let others make some comments now then.
I felt it was very Asimov-like, which is not a criticism at all. And, you know, where you're mostly concerned with the people and you just let the environment up to the imagination. You don't have to think of any real whiz bangs or anything like that. That, you know.
I'd like to piggyback off of something Rob said. I think the, you know, you got a lot of action going on and a lot of very dramatic situations, but the characters don't seem to be affected by the situation. And I think you can use that to reveal character with all with the dramatic situation they're in, and create more of an arc to, you know, where the characters really change over the series of your short story. They seem to stay pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah, what's at stake for the characters is I guess part of the question, you know. The
Yeah.
action's great, but what's at stake for them emotionally? But I do like your writing style. I thought your writing style was very nicely done.
Good. Always good to hear.
Other things?
Have you thought perhaps of doing it graphic novel style? That's what it sounds like to me.
When I did the first one of these about probably about 17 years ago, that was one of the ideas.
I know you're younger, and my kids are in their 30s, and the younger generation is such doom and gloom in the future. Dear God.
All right, here's an old geezer's question. What's the difference between a comic book and a graphic novel?
Graphic novel is basically all pictures, but there you can do the visuals of the mushroom clouds and all that. And the characters don't necessarily talk as much. It's more seeing, you're seeing it, and you're given in bits and pieces of information.
Basically what it is, David, it is kind of a comic book, except the narrative form is much longer. It could be up to hundreds of pages, and it's all drawn, and you got some word balloons in it. The story ideas in it are far more complex than a normal comic book would be.
I'm being devil's advocate here. I don't know if you realize that, but I mean, I just wanted to try and think about how we define these things here.
I think a pretentious comic book is a good way of describing a graphic novel, isn't it, David?
Much longer.
Yeah, pretentious. So I said pretentious.
I always thought of the graphic novels tending to be like way more pessimistic than comic books.
And they showcase a lot of artistic ability, drawing artistic ability more so. Like I've read The Sandman. Sandman is really good drawings.
I think just to say what others have said about the question of the characters. I mean, you know, I think it's a question of are you interested or concerned about the characters? And I think because there's no emotion, they don't show much emotion themselves. There's not much emotional connection with them. You know, when you look at a movie, there's a George Clooney movie out recently about astronauts coming back to a destroyed Earth, and it's all about their feelings and the loss of their family and the regrets in life. And, you know, they have lots and lots of expensive special effects, but that's not what makes it interesting. You know, and I think that's a point that there seems to be missing in this, that do you really care about the characters? And you know, and I don't think you get that from that dialogue, because it's more about doing things rather than feeling things.
On that topic, I was getting the sense that we were on a military base where you're offered a certain set of circumstances, therefore I react this way. A different set of circumstances, I react this way. And where, you know, emotion really isn't supposed to come into those decisions. So that's how I interpreted the setting.
Yeah, there were some of the people I wrote, he said, well, if you wanted to, one of the guys that wrote it said, well, you'd almost have to have it as a lot longer story than what it was if you wanted to give them just a little bit more emotion and like I said, flesh out your characters is how I put it.
Yeah.
That was when I was trying to kind of keep it to the, I would say, kind of keep it somewhat like the way Edgar Allan Poe said, his idea was when you do a short story, try to keep it short enough that it can be done in one sitting. So that's what I had in mind when I wrote it. You know, something that you wouldn't have to read like for days on end, like a 1,000-page book. Let's say something, maybe you're at the airport waiting for your layover, or like a long layover. Give you something to read rather than keep standing up and reading the magazines at the airport kiosk.
So what percentage-wise, about what portion did we read here this evening?
I want to say 7 pages out of about 20.
Yeah, probably about a third of it, something like that.
Oh, about that. So the emotional part came later when the astronauts met. Didn't have time to read that tonight.
Okay. You know, I think it'd be a fun exercise, whether you intend it to be or not. It might be a really fun exercise to try to turn it into a screenplay, just to see what happens with it and how the story might unfold, or you might discover other things about the story. I've done that once, you know, with I've only written one play really, but I started it off as a stage play, and then, but it wasn't how I was imagining it. I was imagining it as a screenplay, and then
yeah. We did briefly discuss that. I've actually sent Nathan a copy of one of my plays as a play and copied into a screenplay. So we know what the format looks like. For those of you who've seen it, it's The Jungfrau, which is about a 15-minute one, which I would love to get turned into a film sometime, but that plan is kind of on ice at the moment.
And there's a great book, and it's not just about screenplays, but who wrote that book and what's the name of it? Somebody out there knows. Mario, do you know what that book is? The Art of Writing.
Oh, was it screenplay? Something book.
You know what? I've got it downstairs when I.
Well, one second, I got it on my shelf. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, if he doesn't find it, I'll email the title. But it's a great book for not only screenplay writing, but just writing. So it talks about story details. All right. Other comments? We'll keep it up, Nathan. I mean, you know, bring us some more work, especially if you put something into bless you, Glenn.
Sorry.
Okay, I got the name.
There it is.
It's called The Screenwriter's Bible.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, great book.
By David Trotter. Yeah.
Right. You master this and you master screenplay writing.
Absolutely. All right. Is there anything else before we wrap up tonight? No. Okay. Then our next venture will be in March. Let's see. We've got one more meeting this month where we're going to do more bits and pieces. So if you've got pieces of plays that you know, like we did tonight, you want to bring something along, please do so, or you can submit it to
Rob, how many we've got 2 or 3 people signed up for next week already. So how many slots are left?
We've got 3 signed up, David says. Okay. So I don't know if we have too much more room, but
maybe 1 or 2 at the most.
Right. But
question?
We'll do it again. Sure. Shirley, is that you?
Yeah. Can it be like, not a vignette, but can it be 5-10 minute long thing?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, because I have something in mind, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody posed the
Yeah, that's
question,
what I'm doing.
didn't know that we did stories like Nathan's was tonight, and usually we don't. But keep in mind that this is a workshop tonight. So in this case, Nathan's story could be looked at as an outline, to turn it into a screenplay or whatever. So I think there's a little more possibility on these workshop nights than what we might do on an ordinary reading.
In the past, I've kind of left it open. I mean, if a writer really has something that like a script writer has some poetry or something they want to read, they can bring it in, because we have done poetry readings in the past.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then in March, we have 2 nights of 1-act plays. And I think there's some openings for that as well. And so if you've got 1 acts, surely that'd be a good time to bring that in.
That's 10-minute plays, I think, because 1 act can go up to like 60 minutes.
Right, you're right. The 10 to 15-minute plays is what we
Yeah, short plays. Yeah,
short plays in March. So join us again for that. All right. Thank you all very much. Good evening. Good discussion.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.